So these are the two cars that my husband and I drive. I drive the Ford C-Max. My husband drives the Ram 1500. While I do primarily drive my car, I do drive his truck, and I want to show you the differences in each of what is FIN approved and what is not FIN approved. So this is the inside of my car, a Ford C-Max, and typically I drive with my right hand. However, I can drive with my left, and the way that I do that is I take, this is my index finger, and I actually grip it like you would if I had a thumb. I don't typically drive strictly with my left hand, but if I want to take a sip of coffee or water or get the hair out of my face, I can grip with this hand. I tend not to do turns with my left hand, although I can, just because see, if I don't move my body, how I kind of have to strain, whereas with my right hand, I have the motion to do that. With my left hand, I do not have the same range of motion. The things that are FIN approved on this car are the size of the steering wheel. If I do need to grip it with my left hand, it is small enough that I can do that, and I can do it comfortably. When I get to my husband's truck, that'll be a completely different story. The turn signal is on the left side. So when I'm driving with my right hand, I can easily do this. The other thing that is FIN approved is the windshield wipers are on the right. So with the windshield wipers, you'll sometimes have to twist this to make it go faster or slower. And because FIN, I can't do a rotating motion with my left hand. It doesn't work. So having this being on the right side is FIN approved. If this was on the left, this would not be FIN approved for me. However, these are my headlights. I have it on automatic, so I don't have to mess with it. However, if this was not on an automatic setting, because it's on the left, and it would also require that rotating motion of my wrist, this is not FIN approved on my car. But for the most part, this car is FIN approved, and it works for me. And when I get to my husband's truck, I'm going to show you the differences of what is not FIN approved in his vehicle. So one thing I like about these handles is I can grab it with this one, with my dominant hand, my right hand, or if I am carrying something with this hand, which is very often, I can reach underneath and I can pull and I can open my door. I wanted to show you one of my favorite FIN approved features, that's a lot of F's, on this vehicle. And that is, if I'm carrying something with both hands, all I have to do is walk up to the back of my car, as long as my keys are on me, kick underneath, step back, and the trunk automatically opens. So then I can set it inside, I'm not fishing for keys, I'm not doing anything like that. And then the reverse is also true. If I get home, I have groceries, I have whatever, I can pick up the items, I kick under again, I step back, and it closes all on its own. Doesn't necessarily solve the problem of when I have to get into my house. I do have to then set things down because it's a regular key, but having that feature is definitely FIN approved and definitely one of my favorites. One of the other things I also love is on my car, if it's locked, all I have to do is have the keys on me, and when I touch it, it'll automatically unlock. There's no fishing for my keys or trying to push buttons, which is really important to me because I don't have the dexterity to push buttons. Like, I'm trying as hard as I can, and it's not working. So having those features are great not only for my safety, but are also super convenient and definitely FIN approved. Hey everyone, so I'm in my husband's Ram 1500, and if I got that wrong, he would tell me because he's filming this. But the handles are similar to my car, so I'm not going to show you those. We're at the same unlock feature where if you have the keys in your pocket, it'll automatically unlock. And the same thing with opening, I can do that pretty easily with either hand. So then I'm going to start with the seat controls. I didn't show you this in my car, but they're easier for me to reach. In his, I have to lean down. So if this door was closed, my head would be basically against the glass on the window, and they're just awkward for me to reach, and I have to bend down pretty far. So I'm really not a fan of how low these sit on the seat. I know that seems like a very minor thing, but if this was my everyday vehicle, that would probably be one of the deal breakers for me, honestly. The next thing is his headlights. They're in the same spot as mine. He does have an automatic feature, so it's not a deal breaker, but this motion is super awkward, And if you notice, my hand right now would be basically hitting against the door if the door was closed, so that would be really difficult for me to do. The next thing is his windshield wipers and his turn signal are both on the left-hand side. So while that's great, because this is how I would do the blinker, turning the windshield wipers on and off, like, I can do it, but it's hard. For me, if this was my primary vehicle, that would be a deal breaker because this is definitely not FIN approved. Moving to his steering wheel. It is larger in circumference and the shape is actually different. So when I go to grip it, it's just that much bigger where it actually hurts this part of my hand. And even if I hold it for, I don't know, 10-15 seconds, I can feel it starting to stretch the skin. It's really uncomfortable. So it's not an option. Could I do it? Yes. Do I like to do it? No. The other thing is too is the way I like to drive, sometimes I can't even do it on his because he has these two little pillars right here, I guess, on his steering wheel. But I would grab it on my steering wheel, but in the center. And that, like, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. It's not FIN approved. Not a fan. So, and the other thing too is on his truck, he has the cruise control for the buttons on his steering wheel on the right. And so I actually like this because it's easier for me to do. I can move it with my thumb. In my car, these are on the left. And so I tend not to use my cruise control as much because I would have to then use my right hand to do it. I don't have the dexterity, like, I don't even know how I would push the buttons on the left-hand side of any steering wheel. Didn't matter, car, truck, whatever. It's just uber awkward. So I would not be doing that. So for all of these reasons, while I can drive this truck, the majority of the features are not FIN approved and I am not a fan. So when I go to look for a new vehicle or things like that, these are definitely things I would take into consideration because those are more important to me in a lot of cases than the color, things like that. If I can't comfortably drive a vehicle, if a lot of the features are not FIN approved, I'm not going to get it. So hopefully this helps you better understand how I would drive a car or a vehicle and the features that are really helpful and FIN approved for me to comfortably drive. Like I said, I can, if I rent a car, I'm not going to be that picky. It's a short-term thing, but for an everyday long-term use, that's a completely different story. So if you do things differently, if you have, sometimes they're called like suicide knobs where they're attached to the steering wheel and that's how you turn, or whatever adaptations you have in your vehicle, let me know in the comments. Let me know if there's something that I didn't cover in this vehicle or in this video that you want to know about of how I drive or things like that. Like, comment, share, subscribe, all the things. I really appreciate you and I hope y'all learned something.